Hello, this presentation will discuss cross-curricular approaches to teaching science and English, offer ways in which they complement one another, and discuss how ICT can be used within this. When discussing cross-curricular teaching in science and English, it is first useful to see how we have come to use cross-curricular approaches over discrete approaches. A cross-curricular approach to education involves combining various subjects which share one common theme, whereas discrete approaches focus on teaching each subject individually. The Plowden report has been one of the most influential in this area, showing much support for cross-curricular approaches, however also finding discrete teaching approaches to be of relevance in later primary education. The Three Wise Men report again gave us conflicting ideas. It identified topic work as producing work of high standards. However, the overall findings led to discrete approaches being favoured. The national curriculum gave a further shift towards discrete approaches, as did the numeracy and literacy strategies and QCA schemes. In 2002, an Ofsted report identified cross-curricular teaching to be a strong feature of successful schools. Further motivation for teachers to favour cross-curricular approaches came from the national curriculum, which stated all children are entitled to a coherent, broad and balanced curriculum. Much of this research has produced support for both cross-curricular and discrete approaches, indicating that one does not necessarily produce better outcomes than the other. This would suggest that both approaches could work well within a school setting simultaneously, with some subjects being taught discretely and others cross-curricularly. So, why should we use cross-curricular approaches over discrete approaches? While many have claimed cross-curricular approaches take away from individual subjects, studies have shown significant benefits from cross-curricular education. The national curriculum itself has many skills which are common throughout numerous subjects. Why waste time teaching a skill in English to teach it again in a science lesson in order to report the findings? Why not combine the two and allow time for a more in-depth science investigation reported in a way as to cover aspects of the English curriculum sufficiently? This not only puts English skills in a context familiar to the children, but allows more time for exploration within lessons, both of which we know significantly increase their understanding. Using a cross-curricular approach can allow for more creative planning, but may cause timetabling issues in terms of ensuring children are receiving adequate amounts of education in each subject area over the course of a school year. Should we use cross-curricular approaches within science and English? I believe we should. Simply by looking at phrases from the current national curriculum, as shown here, we can see many common skills to be applied in both subjects, primarily the use of language. Language, as many would rightly assume, is a huge part of the English national curriculum. Acquisition, comprehension and application of. What many people would not assume, however, is that science education also involves a vast amount of acquisition, comprehension and application of language, often language which children are unfamiliar with. With language being such a significant aspect of both purpose of studies, a cross-curricular approach is appropriate here. Some of the cross-curricular aspects of science and English are making predictions, describing things that have happened, learning new vocabulary and recording ideas. However, when using a cross-curricular approach to science and English education, we must ensure to cover English skills thoroughly and not allow the science aspect to overtake that of the English. Engaging children in a dialogue with one another and a teacher can encourage them to practice using scientific language verbally before they are required to put pen to paper to express this. Having to use correct scientific terminology immediately after learning it can be daunting for children. Having time to explore an area of science through talk can familiarise a child with the terminology. One of the difficulties using correct scientific terminology is that many of these words have a different meaning in daily life which a child will already know, such as cell, field, and circuit. This can make learning scientific terminology similar to learning a new language, as we are having to learn new meanings for words we already know a meaning for. By promoting a dialogic learning environment, children are encouraged to participate in scientific talk on a regular basis. The difficulty tackling language within science education can be addressed by implementing skills from the English National Curriculum, specifically spoken language, but also methods for comprehending language using new vocabulary and context and much more. Looking at the various types of talk put forward by Fisher, we can argue that using dialogic teaching methods is the most effective form of talk in education, especially in subjects which allow for active investigation, such as science. While other types of talk can often produce sound academic outcomes in children, they do not allow the same freedom for children to explore, investigate, and discuss their ideas. ICT is used by children in school and in their leisure time, as we all know. Barton identified that it is also used by teachers on a day-to-day basis in school. Betts tells us that ICT can motivate pupils' participation. This suggests that if we use ICT within our science lessons, we can further motivate children in their science learning. McFarlane showed with this diagram how ICT can be used to develop scientific skills, but also allows for discussion and the use of spoken language, asking questions and making predictions. Ball identified 4 ways to use ICT in primary science: as a tool, a reference source, a means of communication, or a means of exploration. Using ICT as a means of communication could easily be incorporated with the use of language in a science lesson. Setting children a task to create a story, song, or animation about a scientific process can help them to learn about the process while using the correct language. Children could then use iPads or video cameras to record this. Using ICT as a means of exploration encourages children to think about what they already know about a topic, what they don't know, and gives them a means to finding out new information. These uses of ICT show how well it can be used to promote cross-curricular approaches to science and English. By using spoken language frequently in science lessons through dialogic teaching, children will become more well equipped to give justified reasons for their opinions, both within science and in other subject areas. Teachers can help to develop each child's understanding of a concept by listening to ideas, encouraging children to justify their opinions, and enforcing the use of scientific vocabulary through a group dialogue. Promotion of dialogic methods within science lessons allows children to develop high-quality scientific vocabulary, articulate concepts clearly, make their thinking clear, and use discussion effectively. These skills are important aspects of both the Science and English programme of study in the national curriculum and can be applied to further subjects. While science and English can, of course, be taught discreetly to good outcomes, there are more advantages to a cross-curricular approach being taken. I firmly believe that when children experience a cross-curricular education, they are equipped with a plethora of skills which are applicable to a range of subjects. By promoting skills from the English national curriculum within science lessons, we can work towards overcoming the main difficulties children face within science lessons, the majority of which are centred around language. In conclusion, I think cross-curricular approaches to science and English should be promoted within primary schools, and in particular the use of spoken language in science lessons through dialogic methods. Thank you for taking your time to consider the evidence presented.